On this past weekend I roasted 2 batches of 400 grams of Honduras beans. First crack was around 10 minutes 30 seconds. So I pulled them, actually wound up pulling them at 13 minutes 45 seconds. One I pulled a little bit earlier and it was better than the other. So I'm going to see where the first crack is, make a judgment. I think I'm going to pull all of these at about 13 minutes 25 seconds. Going to roast 4 batches back to back. Going to give this to Pastor Marvel. Going to call it Captain Marvel Roast, and going to share it with a few missionaries at Fort Wilderness. See, but the beans are turning from green to yellow at the 4-minute mark, and we're about 460 in the chamber. The setting is 465. So the temperature reached 469 and the heating element went out. Usually there's about a 15-degree hysteresis, so 20-degree hysteresis, so it's creeping, still creeping down, but the heating element came back. The white light here, you can see the beans are turning from yellow to light brown around minute 6. Minute 8, I'm going to tune in around minute 9.5. Listen for the first crack somewhere between there and 10 minutes 35 seconds. Minute 9 and the beans are clearly brown, beginning to see a little smoke. Right, we're here at the 10-minute mark, listening for the first crack. Riveting video. There's the first crack at 10 minutes 38 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the plan and pull this around 13.5 minutes, which is just shy of the 25% development time of 14 minutes. The first crack is progressing. It's finished up at 12.5 minutes, the last 2 batches. And we roast for about a minute beyond first crack. Okay, around 12.5 minutes, the cracking seemed to suspend. We're approaching 13 minutes, we'll pull this at 13.5. There's another crack, a laggard. Okay, first crack has stopped. I want to pull this before second crack starts. Shut the process down at 13.5 minutes. Heat off. Rotation off. Stop cooking. Doing about 1.5 minutes of cooling these days. Open this up. Beans look excellent. Gonna go ahead and preheat the chamber while I measure out these beans and new beans and try to do 3 batches back to back, 13.5 minutes. Alright, just preheating the chamber. You can see it's already recovered to 200 degrees after being open for 1.5 minutes. Ramping up quick to 400. Let's go get some measurements and get some new beans. Up to temp, 400 grams of beans. Best laid plans, I only have enough to do 2 400-gram batches and 1 370-gram batch. We'll have to visit Peter and get some more beans. The chamber's hot, but there's no real clearance issues. The hands, just put it in the shaft in the saddle there. Recap. Turn on, and reset the timer. Okay, first crack is just settling down in the second batch. I'm going to pull this at 13.5 minutes. Go time. It's a little late. At 9:05, my local beanstalkist Peter met me and sold me another 8 pounds of green beans. But we have some wee little ones in the neighborhood who past their bedtime, and cooling the beans is too noisy. So I'm going to clean up this glass so I have a better view of the bean change from green to yellow and then yellow to brown. And we'll continue tomorrow. Day 2, roasting 13.5-minute batches. Peter fixed me up at 9:05 last night with new green beans of the same variety, Honduran. Preheating the chamber here. I do batches 3, 4, and possibly 5, each 400 gram batches, pulling them at 13 minutes. I shut down operations as it got late, and my cooling operations fairly noisy, and there's little kids asleep next door. Preheat it to 430. Drop some while we add 450 grams of beans, or 400 grams of green beans in the cage. Park it in the saddle. We can turn it on. Add the heat. Ignition. Start the timer. And one of the things I noticed after cleaning this so you get a good view of the beans, you can push it all the way back to the tangent and get a much better view of the beans. Minute 1, it's up to about 340, usually up to 400 by minute and a half. A little extra white light, you can see the beans are still green. I'll revisit this at the 5-minute mark to show you green to yellow. As we approach 5-minute mark here, some things to notice. They're hovering around 4:15, 4:30. It's only around minute 6 or 7 that it goes up to the oven setting of 465. That means the beans are continuously absorbing heat, flux. As we approach minute 5, beans are starting to turn from green to yellow, and you can see the chaff storm. This really works well with the oven pushed back to the tangent point, giving a much more vertical view of the beans. A little white light. At minute 6, you can see the beans are now yellow. On track. Around minute 9, there'll be a nice brown color. Expecting to crack around minute 10.5. Minute 8, we're approaching 440 degrees. Minute 9, then I'll be up around 460 for the remainder of the roast. You can see there, 8 minutes 15 seconds for a nice light brown. And we'll just continue to darken. Alright, we've been cracking for about 30 seconds. So going to pull this on the dime, 13.5 minutes, like the previous 2 batches, which both wound up at 334 grams. Getting some good smoke. The first crack has continued to about the 13-minute mark. We're going to pull this at 13.5. My intention, it's still first crack I believe, but don't really want to go into the second crack. Alright. Let's rest the cooking. Close your ears. We have a cooling chamber is preheating for the next batch. Very nice. Chamber's preheated to 470, 400 grams measured. This is the 4th batch. I'm going to do a 5th and a 6th batch today because I'm going to give 3 pounds away, and I need at least 800 grams of coffee for my own family. I won't be narrating this at all. I'm expecting to just come back at around minute 13 and pull it. Hard to hold the camera and see what I'm doing here. Chamber's preheated to 470, 400 grams measured. This is the 4th batch. I'm going to do a 5th and a 6th batch today because I'm going to give 3 pounds away, and I need at least 800 grams of coffee for my own family. I won't be narrating this at all. I'm expecting to just come back at around minute 13 and pull it. Okay, it's showtime. Stop the rotation, remove the heat, and pull the beans. Close your ears. Alright, kill the rotation. Close your ears. And batch 6 of the day. We're done.